All right, we should be live now. What's up, fellas? What's up, ladies? Ryan here. This is the DFS 5-pack. So listen up for about 1 minute. I got to run through a couple things with you guys just for the next week or so. Schedule is going to be a little bit weird, so bear with us. Matt is going to be out of the country for a little while, and kind of a bad coincidence. I started a new job today, actually. So I'm going to be working on side of the house a little bit. Now, in a few weeks, when I'm all fully trained up and ready to rock, it will not affect DFS stuff as much, not nearly as much at all. Nothing's really changing with us over here. I'm just going to have a little bit of a different schedule. But for this week, things are going to be a bit funky with him not available and me busy during more than normal hours. We'll be having some late night videos, some early morning videos. There will be write-ups. They'll be abbreviated. So not a lot's really changing. It's just that the times are going to be a little off. Post All-Star break, Bellman's back, and everything will be back to normal. But for this next, 6 days or so, it's going to be a little bit different. The schedule's going to be a little bit funky. So we appreciate y'all bearing with us. And I just wanted to kind of get the word out there and kind of let everybody know what we're thinking. So I'm going to do kind of a members-only video free to the public. We're going to be condensing them down to one video for this week. So for all of the guys who have been watching us for years, you get some free stuff this week. We appreciate y'all watching. Click the thumbs up button if you don't mind. And all the information is going to be relatively abbreviated. So let's take a look at pitching today, guys. And obviously your top dog is going to be the best pitcher in the world, Jacob deGrom, 11.5. Obviously, it's a big price tag. Is he worth it? Probably. This one looks like there might preemptively be some rain issues. We'll check back on that tomorrow. Information will be in the write-up. Plus, you guys are all really smart and able to do that on your own anyway. I love the fact he pitched 93 pitches last time out. So that's good for me. Like, this guy was down to pitching, 88, 70, 51, 80, blah, blah, blah. The fact he's getting close back up to 100 is a nice sign for me. So my Brewers all of a sudden got cold the last couple days. We all know they strike out a ton. It's been that way for years. So he's a real good look. After that, I'm off Rodon for now. Nola's too expensive. Bassett's in a bad matchup. Valdez is a bit expensive. The next guy you can look at is Merrill Kelly. He's found something his last couple starts. He's looked good. I really struggle to pay $9,200 for Merrill Kelly, though. I know Colorado's terrible, and he's looked good his last few times out there against good teams, Milwaukee, San Diego, San Francisco. So let's give him credit for that. And he could easily make it 4 in a row against one of the worst teams in baseball. I just mentally trying to spend $9K plus on Merrill Kelly is really difficult to do. But clearly, this is the guy, he had a bad start to the season, but he's not a bad pitcher. So I do think he is definitely in play, given the matchup, given how bad Colorado is in the road. It's really difficult to wrap your brain around it. Next up, we get down to Ian Anderson against Pittsburgh and Luis Castillo against Kansas City. These guys are essentially the same price. Give me Castillo. Not that Anderson's out of play, but give me Castillo. It's not even a thought for me. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. He's looked a lot better. Kansas City is reeling for months now, it seems like. Good ballpark, you name it. And then the last guy who's going to make my list, not that you can't look at Matz and Lopez and Dunning, blah, 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 but the next guy up for me is going to be John Gray. Here's the thing. John Gray or Merrill Kelly, give me John Gray. He's $2,000 less. You got a Toronto Blue Jays team in a great spot. They're expensive. Give me the cap space if you got it. I think one of the best cases for fading Jacob deGrom is if you're trying to go heavy on the Blue Jays. And John Gray is really cheap at $7,300. Can you trust him 100%? No, of course not. It's John Gray. You can never trust him 100%. He was having a real nice start to the season. He had a bit of a rough patch. I'm going to lean on him being good against a bad Arizona team. But if you don't trust him, you have every right to feel that way, man. Absolutely. He has taken us for enough roller coaster rides over the years that I get it. All right, next up, let's shift on over to the offenses. First game is going to be Atlanta against Pittsburgh, Ian Anderson against Chad Kuhl. Chad Kuhl has actually pitched fairly well lately, so I'm probably not looking to stack against him. Lefties get him a little better than righties, like a prototypical, right-handed pitcher. So if you like a Freddie Freeman or something like that, I get it. I would for me, I'd much rather have Vlad. That being said, let's assume Freddie Freeman's going to be, he's big bucks. He's going to be a lot less owned than Vladimir Guerrero. If there's anybody else in the Braves you like, I'm going to prefer the lefties here. We all know how great Acuna is. I mean, this guy's legit in play every single day. So You pretty much don't really ever need to ask on this one. He's that good. But for me, this is not a spot. Now, as far as Pittsburgh against Ian Anderson, I don't love Ian Anderson, but I'm really not trying to get to Pittsburgh guys here. I just want to continue to shout out Bryan Reynolds, though, for quietly under the radar, just having a great season. Still not where my money's trying to go on this one. Next up, we got Toronto against Baltimore. Obviously, at this time of the night, there's no ownership percentages, but the common sense angle on this one is that everybody's going to want as much Toronto as they can get. Great ballpark in Baltimore. It would be a great ballpark if they were hitting at M2. Like, you have no options here. It's going to be a great ballpark. Dean KREMER. Okay. I did see somebody else starting somewhere. So this will be out more in the write-up. We'll double check this one. If it's not actually Dean KREMER here, the thing is, like, whoever goes for Baltimore is probably not very good, but we'll keep our eyes peeled on that one moving forward. But just assume Toronto's going to be real popular, no matter what the situation is. The only thing that's holding them down from being like absolutely mega chalk, probably their price tags. Grichuk is affordable, Gurriel, Biggio, even Springer, Hernandez are affordable. And then Bichette, Simeon, and Vlad are all expensive, and those dudes all deserve it. They're awesome. As far as Baltimore against Matts, like, look, Steven Matz can be any given guy on any given day. On a 15-game slate, I'm not trying to go to a bad Baltimore team. I get that Matz can be hit, but he's also pretty good some days. Next up, Gonsolin against Lopez. So Lopez got ejected after one pitch the other day. He's pretty good. I'm not trying to throw him against the Dodgers team, but I'm not really trying to stack against this young man either. He's having himself a really nice season. Memory serves me correctly, he's been nothing short of a shutdown pitcher at home. This is a game I'm just going to ignore personally. I might be more likely to get to very low on Marlins bats, but, Adam Duvall's a guy. We mention him all the time. This guy wins slates. He also has game logs filled with 2 and 4 point days, but he's a slate winner type of guy. On July 4th, another big game. That's not even the monster games that he gives you. Like, it's a little bit for before there when he had that 40-pointer. So I'm always okay with him in GPPs just based on the fact that nobody goes more big game than Adam Duvall. All right, next up, DeGrom versus Anderson. Clearly, there's a little rain call right here, but we're still a long ways away from the game. We'll check back on that tomorrow. DeGrom's the top dog by a distant margin. And if you want to fade high-priced bats to play him, dude, that makes all the sense in the world. He's awesome. Milwaukee K's a ton. They just, they lost their 11-game losing streak, have dropped 2 in a row, and the bats have looked bad. I mean, there's every reason to like Jacob DeGrom. As far as Brett Anderson going up against the New York Mets, coming off the IL, he's been out for a couple of weeks. Pete Alonso has been red hot. He's pricey, but I do like Pete Alonso. Big-time power hitter, playing really well. There's going to be some cheaper bats that you might be able to get to a VR, for example, from the Mets. You got to double check back on their lineup. And then also, like, if you're looking for some cheap guys, like maybe take a look at like a Kevin Pillar. Always been good against lefties, only 2,900. Brewers bats, no way, no how. All right, chalk Philly Chicago night. Not doing a whole bunch. A little bit of a disappointment. Not that they're awful. They just haven't been as good as a lot of people would have liked, me included. Aaron Nola versus Jake Arrieta. Like, look, man, I ain't pitching Nola right here, but Cubs bats against a cold Cubs bats. Nah, no thank you. Arrieta is not nearly what he once was. If you want to get to a couple fills, all right. I'm not really excited about him. McCutcheon's been singing a good bat. Herrera could be near the top of the lineup. Didi's very affordable for who he is. So I can get on board with all these Philly guys, but I'm not like super excited about it. All right, Detroit against Texas. So Texas is in a good spot. This is your classic immovable object or whatever the term is, because Urena, who's not good, he's not as bad as he's pitched over the past month, but he's not good, has just been getting crushed and stomped lately. He's really, really bad against lefties. I'm sure Texas gets a little love, maybe not overwhelming because, well, quite frankly, they're Texas. He's having massive struggles. So I'm definitely interested in some Nate Lowe. Some Joey Gallo. Gallo's expensive. After going on an epic run, he has definitely cooled off, but no reason you can't start that bad boy back up again. And not that you can't play righties against him. You just should always be a little bit more excited about left-handed hitters against Jose Urena. So double check their lineup. And, they might have some pieces in here you can get, really, really cheap, especially if you're trying to get up to Jacob deGrom. And then Detroit against Dunning. Detroit's been feisty lately, so I had no interest in Dunning, but you could talk me into a couple of cheaper Tigers bats here and there. We got Baddoo batting on top of that lineup consistently lately, real cheap. I could definitely get on board with this one. Guy runs, gotta love that. Grossman's very, very cheap. Mazar, depending on what their lineup looks like tomorrow. You could definitely talk me into a little bit of Detroit. I'm not like super thrilled about it. It's not like a main stack for me or anything like that, but they are, in play, quote unquote. All right, next up, Framber Valdez versus Chris Bassett. This is what we would term a Manny special. I don't like the pitchers enough to throw them. Not trying to get to the hitters on this one. I massively respect both pitchers. I just don't love the matchup for either guy. So this game is just a no-go for me. We got a 14-game slate or whatever it is. This is just one I can just cross right off. Next up, Cincy against KC. Bubic versus Castillo. You guys already know I like Castillo quite a bit. As far as Chris goes, he ain't great. I don't know what else to say about him. As far as the guys on Cincinnati are going to go, Suarez, very, very cheap. A lot of power against lefties. Not having his best season, but he's still, he's got 16 bombs. There's still plenty of power right there. You guys know what a big fan we are of Nick Castellanos, having a great season. Really good against left-handed pitching. Very familiar with this ballpark from his years in Detroit. He's expensive, but he's in a really good spot, and he's a really, really good hitter. So those would be the main two guys I was looking at. And just have to double check back and take a look at what their lineup looks like tomorrow, as they are missing a few guys still. White Sox against Twins. Sorry, lost my train of thought there for a second. Rodon's come back down to earth. Barrios was awful the other day against the White Sox. He's back at home. He's always been a little bit better at home. Not significantly. In fact, he's only striking more guys out at home this year. I like him to pitch better this time out. So quite frankly, I don't like Barrios enough to throw him. But this is very similar to me to the Oakland against the Astros game, where I respect both pitchers enough that I'm not trying to pick on them on a monster slate like this, but I don't like them enough to actually pitch them myself. All right. Congratulations to Ohtani for making it as a pitcher hitter. And Nasty Nate Eovaldi for making the All-Star game this year. Tells you how weak the starting pitchers are in the American League. This is kind of another one. I'm not really trying to get after Ohtani. My memory serves me correctly. He's coming off a really, really bad start. I expect him to kind of get it together and have a much better start this time out. Also not trying to go after Eovaldi. So this is similar to these other games, just like Chicago, Minnesota, and Oakland against Houston. Like, I don't like the pitchers enough to throw them, but I'm certainly not trying to stack against them on a monster slate like this. All right, so Colorado, Arizona is a little bit differently. I like these pitchers more because these offenses aren't very good. So I like the pitchers in this game. I don't like the hitters. Not saying that Christian Walker or Crone or whoever you're going to come up with in this game couldn't get after these pitchers. I just happen to prefer the pitchers in this specific set. All right. Johnny Cueto versus Adam Wainwright. Battles of, Cy Youngs from 10 years ago or whatever. So we talked about Wainwright the other day. Had a nice start at Colorado, very respectable. Not a lot of strikeouts, but from a real-life perspective, he was really good. He has struggled more at night like this game is and on the road like this game is, and San Francisco's feisty. So Wainwright is not my huckleberry on this one. He's on my good side. I used him in the Atlanta start. I used him in the Pittsburgh start. So, I like Adam Wainwright. He has done me well this year, but this is not a spot I'm trying to use him. Next up, Johnny Cueto, who, again, has seen better years, but he's still respectable. I don't like the Cardinals enough to really try to use them. The thing about Cueto is, he gives up all his runs via the home run, it seems like. So if you want to take a one-off with a cheap St. Louis guy, a Tyler O'Neill if he's in the lineup, for example, Harrison Bader, who's really, really cheap. I can get on board with any of those, but we've got a bunch of games you can cross off, which is nice on a slate like this because it makes it a little bit shorter. Washington versus San Diego. Patrick Corbin versus Ryan Weathers. Corbin or the Padres. You know, Corbin had looked a little bit better before his last start, but come on. I think we know the Padres are better than Patrick Corbin at this point of their career. So you got a red-hot Manny Machado coming off a real big game. 2 home runs and 3 walks. You got Tatis, who is all that in a bag of chips, as we all know. Tommy Pham, Will Myers. Like, they're a little pricey, but, you know, it's probably, if I don't get there, it's because of the price. It's not because I'm scared of Patrick Corbin. It's just hard to get to them specifically because they are pricey. And then you got Ryan Weathers, who's a very nice pitcher. He doesn't go deep into games. Washington's missing a lot of their best players. I don't want to throw Ryan Weathers, but I'm not really interested in the Washington guys. Like, if you need money, you got like Starlin Castro at 2,900. Okay, fine. If it helps you make a lineup, okay. You're not going to be excited about any of this stuff, though. Cleveland, Tampa Bay is a no-go. And then the last game of the night is going to be the New York Yankees against Seattle. Again, I don't have ownership percentages to share with you guys yet, or even great guesses necessarily. I do think this last game has got some potential offensive upside, probably at relatively low ownership would be my guess. That's just a guess. It's Monday night. That stuff won't come out till, later morning tomorrow. I'll hit that stuff up in the write-up. But like Stanton against a lefty for 4,800, interested. It's got to depend on what the Yankees lineup looks like, and it can change from time to time. But you get like a Miguel Andujar at 2,700, interested. He's very, very cheap. Aaron Judge is affordable for his lofty standards, and I don't mind lefties against Tyon. Not that you can play righties against him too, but I don't mind the occasional lefty against Tyon. Kyle Seager, kind of like Suarez. Terrible batting average, but the power's still there. He's had some nice runs of it lately. I can get on board with the Kyle Seager in this game, probably at very, very low ownership. Cheap Dylan Moore. You're going to have some cheaper pieces in this one as well. Luke Voigt's very affordable. You got Jake Fraley. He's a lefty against Tyon. Not the sexiest play in the world, but, he's affordable in the Seattle stack. So I do think you get some potential sleepers in this last game, would be my guess. Usually it's Bellman talking about how much he likes the Yankees on any given day, but maybe I might be the one today. So as it stands, the pitchers are, we're 4 deep on potential guys we're looking at. We got a bunch of crossout games. And again, I'll hit this stuff up in the write-up tomorrow, but I'm kind of banking on Toronto being very, very popular. They'll be especially popular if there actually is weather issues with Milwaukee, New York, and you can't throw to Grom, because then people aren't going to look at the high-price pitching nearly as much, and they'll get up there. Texas, specifically their lefties, a couple of Philly bats against Arrieta, a couple of Mets bats against Anderson. I like Castillo, and then I like Castellanos, and perhaps Suarez against Bubic, or however you pronounce it. Boston, LA is a cross-off. White Sox, Minnesota cross-off. Colorado, Arizona, it's the pitchers. So for a big slate, though, the players that I like, at least it's a shorter list for a big slate, which is kind of nice. Anyways, guys, appreciate y'all having patience with us this week as we take on some real-life issues, and there's only 2 of us. Hasn't happened much, but there was bound to be a week where we'd have to be on a little bit on the light end. So that's going to be this week. Anyway, thank you very much. Have a great night, morning, afternoon, and talk to you soon.